Every day, we are presented with thousands of choices, whether we realize them or not. Will I get out of bed today? Should I take a shower? Do I brush my teeth? Will I wear pants? Most of these decisions we've automated. We don't have to give much thought as to whether or not to do them. We realize over time that some situations should go a certain way. They become our habits. Our senses, plus learned cultural and social norms, allow us to develop habits. Without habits, some of our effortless daily routines might have to go something like this. Do I wear pants today? Well, if I don't wear pants, I could be cold, I'd probably make others uncomfortable, and I might get arrested. So yeah, I think I'll wear pants today. We don't have to go through this silly, detailed decision-making process day after day. We realize over time that certain situations can and should go one way, aka habits. Over the course of our lives, we also develop many food habits. How many in this room, most days of the week, eat almost the same thing for breakfast? Good. Now, food habits can be helpful in some situations, but they can also be detrimental in others. Case in point, this apple. Now, this is a picture-perfect red delicious apple. It's bright red, glossy, perfectly round. It's almost like this apple is saying, yeah, I know I look good. This apple embodies so much of what we deem to be good about the holy and sacred apple. However, what about this apple? Now, most will agree, well, yeah, it's an apple, but it doesn't draw the same oohs and ahs as the previous apple. Some might say, it kind of has a weird shape. Others might say, it's not quite the right color. Some might point out the brown spots or signs that an all-terrifying insect enjoyed a bite or two. And others might just say, it doesn't look like the way an apple should, or it doesn't look like the apples that I know I like. But why does the way a food looks matter anyway? Shouldn't it be like we're told with so many other things that it's what's on the inside that counts? From a food perspective, things like high nutrition or great flavor, or external non-physical qualities like being locally grown or knowing and valuing the production practices that went into growing and producing this food. It's very interesting to examine the human development of having a liking or preference towards food based on cosmetic standards, because it's not by accident. Determining what food was safe or unsafe for consumption was very important throughout times of human history when our food supply was less predictable. Early hunters and gatherers relied heavily on our senses, smell, sight, and touch, to determine if food was even safe for taste and nourishment. So, as we determined what food was safe and edible based on certain physical parameters, we continued to choose these foods over and over again. And we model this behavior for the next generation, and the next, and the next. And today's research shows that one of the strongest predictors of a child growing to like a food is modeling. That's seeing another person choose and eat a certain food. And as we grew to develop a liking towards food that looks a certain way, we also harnessed the ability to control the way our food looks through techniques like plant breeding, genetic modification, and a variety of other technological and agricultural advances. So as we developed a liking for foods that look a certain way, our evolutionary advancements allowed us to create more food that looks that way. And today, we have more and more and more food that looks very similar. But not all foods will always look a certain way. Not all apples will always be round, red, and glossy. But this leads us to the ultimate question. What's the harm in having a singular view in the way an apple or a food should look? Well, today, it matters quite a bit. According to research from the National Resource Defense Council, upwards of 40% of our food resources go to waste in the United States each year. That's like buying 5 bags of groceries, and when you get home, just throwing 2 in the trash. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, globally we lose 2.9 trillion pounds of food. That represents enough food to feed the 800 million people who suffer from hunger worldwide twice over. Now, food waste happens in a variety of ways and for a variety of reasons. In developing countries, the majority of food waste happens in the field and in post-harvest production. This is a result of things like pests and diseases, transportation issues, inadequate storage facilities, and machinery and equipment problems. On the opposite end, in developed countries like the United States, the majority of our waste happens at the retail and consumer level, in places like grocery stores, restaurants, and directly in our homes. Things like oversized portions at restaurants, a lack of willingness to buy cosmetically imperfect food, poor meal planning and shopping skills, and overstocked shelves at grocery stores. All of these actions lead to good, safe, and edible food being thrown away every single day. In the United States, our annual food loss represents an economic loss of $165 billion. Each year, we spend $750 million just to throw away the foods that we don't eat. Let me say that one more time. Every year, we spend $750 million to throw away the foods that we grow, harvest, process, package, transport, stock in our grocery stores, serve in our restaurants, bring into our homes, and somewhere along that line, we throw it in the garbage, and we pay $750 million to throw it away. This is not acceptable. Along the supply chain, fruits and vegetables are wasted at a higher rate than all other foods. It's estimated that grocery stores lose $15 billion each year in unsold fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables, what most consider to be the healthiest part of our diet and essential to a healthy lifestyle. Now, one obvious reason that fruits and vegetables are wasted at a higher rate than all other foods is because they are perishable. Unlike something like rice or dry beans that can last for months, if not years, if kept in the right conditions, fruits and vegetables have a relatively short shelf life by comparison and require consumption in a short period of time. Another reason fruits and vegetables are wasted at a higher rate is because of food grading or cosmetic standards that we have applied in order to assure that foods that reach the consumer are of the safest and highest quality. Now, while this goal of safe and high-quality food is important, it also leads to a rejection of good, safe, and edible foods from the marketplace, a significant loss of value to a farmer, and it continues to feed this evolutionary idea that foods need to look a certain way in order for them to be good and safe. So, one way that I would like to challenge each of you to do today to be a part of this solution, to rethink why we deem some foods to be good or bad or acceptable or unacceptable, is to begin to pivot your automatic food decisions. Instead of choosing this so-called red delicious apple, which is actually not so very delicious, choose the funky-looking apple with flavor. Instead of leaving restaurant leftovers sitting on your plate because I don't like leftovers, bring them home and make them into something good, new, and delicious. Instead of following this preconceived idea of what is acceptable or unacceptable food, challenge yourself to rethink why you deem those foods to be good or bad or acceptable or unacceptable. Begin to pivot your automatic food decisions. I'd like to share with you my defining food pivot moment. It happened about 9 months ago when I, along with 2 friends, recently formed the organization Ugly Food of the North. We were gearing up to hold our first event, an Ugly Food Farmers Market, where we were encouraging our area producers to bring their 3-legged carrots, their crooked cucumbers, their misshapen tomatoes to the farmers market, to give consumers an opportunity to see these ugly foods, to buy them, and to enjoy them. I was out on a walk in my South Moorhead neighborhood, and as I approached Moorhead campus, I noticed this small, unassuming apple lying in the grass. Upon further examination, I realized that this poor apple had stumbled out of someone's backpack, and after closer examination, I noticed that Besides a little dirt and a small bruise, this apple was still perfectly safe and edible and fine to eat. I brought it home, I washed it off, I threw it in a smoothie, and I drank it. And it was delicious. I then proceeded to post about this experience on social media, where I was met mostly with support and praise for my food pivoting moment, but I was also met with a healthy dose of teasing. Most notably, a meme jab from my twin sister, who likened my actions to the actions of Templeton, the rat from Charlotte's Web. So for those who have seen the movie, Templeton patrons the county fair after hours and indulges in all the leftover foods that had been forgotten that day. So after a little humiliation and a good laugh, I decided that this was okay. I decided to push away my feelings of embarrassment and to be proud of the decision I had made. To be proud that I would not let a good food go to waste. To be proud that I had challenged myself to rethink why I deem a food to be good or bad or acceptable or unacceptable. To be proud that I had given food equal love. To be proud that I had embraced my inner Templeton. So I guess that's what I'm challenging each of you to do today. Embrace your inner Templeton. Not in the sense of gorging or excess, but in the sense of non-discrimination. To challenge yourself to think why you deem a food to be good or bad. To have an open mind and to rethink your food decisions. To think more critically and completely about food. Don't think about food as just a thing. Think about food as a relationship, what it means and what it represents. When you see this apple, I want you to think of its past. Think of the tree that it grew on. Think of the soil and the billions of microorganisms in that soil that allowed it to grow. Think of the sun and think of the rain that allowed the tree to grow and the fruit to ripen. Think of the farmer whose livelihood depends on this apple and who spent time tending and harvesting the crop. Now, think of its future. Will its past be for nothing? And will it go uneaten and end up in the trash? Or will its past be for everything? And will it be used to provide nourishment and deliciousness and sustenance for someone who might be hungry? We have the power to change this because the way you look at food can change the world.